Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. If you like all things true crime, if you like it delivered in a peaceful, tranquil manner, if you like it clear and concise without drama, then I highly recommend you subscribe. And if you like what you hear, please smash the like button. It's a free way you can help. And now, without further ado, let's dig in. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are. I'm about to have my first cup of coffee, and I wanted to share some updates on missing 19-year-old Jay Slater. He went missing on June 17th on the island of Tenerife after leaving a rave to go with two new acquaintances to their remote Airbnb in the small village of Mosca. Mosca was about a 50-minute drive away from where Jay was staying with his two friends, Lucy May Law and Brad Hargreaves. The official search for Jay was halted 2 weeks ago, so now it's up to Jay's family and friends, as well as social media sleuths, to try and find him. One TikTok sleuth, a British expat who goes by the name Christopher Tenerife, has been searching for Jay, and he believes Jay is likely still in the ravine where his cell phone last pinged. That spot is a half a mile north of Mosca. Christopher Tenerife says that there's no way the area was thoroughly searched. He also rejects all the conspiracy theories, and instead he believes that if Jay walked off the main road in a bid to get to the coastline faster, then he's probably somewhere in that ravine, perhaps injured from a fall, maybe dehydrated, or worse. It's also come out that British law enforcement has offered to assist Tenerife's local police, the Guardia Civil. Unfortunately, the Guardia Civil so far has rejected these offers, which to me makes little sense, because if this area is as vast as it looks and as dense with brush and cacti as it looks, you'd think they'd want all the help they can get. So why would they reject offers of help? Is it because they have something to hide? Is it because they want to keep control of the story and they fear negative press for Tenerife, which is a huge tourist spot that makes a ton of money from these British kids who come over there to party and go to these dance clubs? We're also learning more about the drug dealer, Ayub Kasem, who invited Jay back to the Airbnb in Mosca. Apparently, this guy is known not only as Johnny Vegas, that's a nickname, he's also known as Whispers by some of his criminal colleagues. So a 59-year-old woman named Rhoda Singh told the Mirror newspaper online that she was shocked to discover Ayub was a key witness in Jay Slater's disappearance. Rhoda appeared in court with Kasem 9 years ago on drug charges. She described him as a, quote, quiet, polite, and gentle fella. He's not a murderer or anything like that. He wouldn't hurt a fly. They call him Whispers because of his quiet, soft voice, end quote. So that's actually good to hear. Maybe the conspiracy theories about this drug dealer being involved in Jay's disappearance are simply red herrings. Maybe he really is a nice guy, and maybe Jay going missing is just down to him getting in over his head when he decided to walk the 11-hour hike back to his accommodations. It really is a relief to hear that one of these two guys at that Airbnb really is kind and soft-spoken. Usually in stories like these, we find out that key witnesses have violent personalities. Back to Rhoda, apparently she still lives in the house in a place called Split, Cardiff, where in October of 2014, 30 cops busted through the door for a drug raid. Rhoda, a heroin addict, got off with a suspended sentence, but Ayub Kasem as a drug dealer, was sent to the big house for 9 years. Rhoda said that Whispers, aka Kasem, and his gang were based around the corner from her house, and she said that, although it sounds crazy, Kasem and his fellow gang members just happened to be in her house when the raid went down. That does sound crazy. She said she originally met Whispers while clubbing with friends in London. Now, Rhoda's partner, 64-year-old Les Jay, also remembers Kasem as a polite, soft-spoken guy who's more likely to help someone than harm them. Now, according to locals who spoke to the Mirror, hikers often go missing in the summer in Tenerife. Note to self, do not go hiking in Tenerife unless you're with a guide. They say the police come for a week and search and then leave, and sometimes it can take months for a body to be found because of the mountainous terrain. And a police chief who carried out a manhunt in 2010 has said the signs aren't looking good, with Jay yet to be found. She went on to say, quote, "They will be hoping that somebody has taken him in. As I've stressed before, this is a very, very remote area of Tenerife, and not everybody has television, not everybody has radios. Would, however, be very, very surprising if he'd been kept away for a week, so the chances are that this is now, unfortunately, a recovery operation." End quote. I hate to say it, but I think that's probably true because he went missing again on June 17th, and he was already thirsty when he called his friend Lucy at 8:30. But I have heard some people say that he could have found rainwater out there, collected in some places to drink, but there's still the problem of the temperatures because it's very cold at night and in the early morning. He was only wearing shorts and a t-shirt. So the Mail Online has been covering this case extensively, and they revealed yesterday that British drug dealers there are fighting with the Italian mafia for control of the drug trade in Tenerife. And of course, this has prompted fears that Jay somehow got sucked into this whole underground world of drugs. So the Mail Online wrote, quote, "Jay joins a long list of Brits and other tourists who have vanished on Tenerife over the years, many last seen in the vibrant Playa de las Americas resort," end quote. So that is where Jay was prior to getting into the car with Ayub Qasim and going to the remote Airbnb in Moscow. So Jay is the 11th person to go missing on Tenerife in just, get this, 6 months. And there are other cases that are still unsolved that go back as much as 40 years ago. Note to self, take Tenerife off your bucket list. 27-year-old Mexican mother and her 2-year-old son were reported missing on March 21st of this year in Santa Cruz de Tenerife. They're probing it as a possible case of child abduction. Next is a 71-year-old Belgian national who disappeared on April 24th. He was last seen in Adege, southwest Tenerife. His name is Marc Francis Olbrechts. Local newspaper Canarian Weekly has reported that Mark's wife, 66-year-old Laura Gaston, was found floating off the coast of Tenerife near Arico by a fisherman. There was a bag over her head, and she was missing one hand and both legs. 3 people were arrested following her death, 2 in Belgium and 1 in Tenerife. Oh my God. So I don't know if these people were living there, maybe retired there, but the article says, quote, "Neighbors saw them leaving on foot for a yoga class in the village on Monday evening. They looked happy and they were just enjoying their life on the island." Okay, then on June 14th, 3 days before Jay vanished, a Polish national named Marek Siedlecki, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. He was said to be heading toward Lanzarote, where he intended to fly back home. Polish media reports that Marek was sailing his boat, Naudus, and was last spotted in the water. So in his case, it sounds like there was a problem with the sailboat, because the article says, quote, "After several phone calls with experienced sailors, we suspect that the electrics and steering have failed, as a result of which the yacht is drifting without the possibility of reaching any port." End quote. There's also a 17-year-old girl who was reported missing on January 23rd from San Cristobal de la Laguna in northern Tenerife. Then there's another person named Marek J., who vanished from Valla Hermosa, a village in La Gomera, on June 8th. And that person is 51 years old, but officials have not disclosed exactly where he was last located. Then, on January 13th, a 60-year-old named Juan Cabrera Gonzalez was last seen in La Orotava. Juan was last seen wearing a blue tracksuit with a white stripe and boots that had metal zips on. I'm sorry, but that outfit sounds like something one of the astronauts on an episode of The Twilight Zone might be wearing. I'm sorry, I know it's inappropriate to throw a little humor there, but seriously, the boots? Then, on March 15th, in Barranco Hondo, Candelaria in Tenerife, a guy named Reiko Garcia Diaz disappeared. He was said to be driving a silver Ford KA at the time, and they say that he was wearing a black jacket and black trainers, and that he's considered vulnerable. Then there's a 28-year-old from Ireland named Ryan Cooney, who vanished after he was allegedly attacked and robbed while holidaying in Tenerife last November. He was last seen at an apartment complex in Playa de las Americas on November 9th, but the only trace of him was his passport. After several days of desperate appeals and his family flying to Tenerife, Ryan suddenly reappeared on November 13th. His friend, James Burke, said, "Words can't describe how I'm feeling right now. This is unreal. This doesn't happen. I'm so happy." End quote. Now, they don't explain why Ryan Cooney suddenly reappeared. That would be kind of interesting to know. So this may be why officials in Tenerife are not completely giving up on Jay Slater, and they have theorized that he could be somewhere maybe being held captive, and that could perhaps be tied to that stolen Rolex watch. Tell you what, if I had a kid who wanted to visit Tenerife with his friends on a holiday, I'd be like doing everything in my power to keep my child from going there. I'm sorry, Tourist Bureau in Tenerife, but this is some bad press, and I would take the warning, I would heed the warning, and I wouldn't allow my child to go there until they get their act together. That's all for now. Until the next time on Bed Crime Stories. Now smash that like button, it really helps. Subscribe if you're not yet subscribed, and I'll see you next time.